Hi friends. So I am sitting by a brand new colony, or hive as I like to call them. Nimba Noel is her name, and she is Nardina's fourth swarm. So I wanted to talk today a little bit about naming. I've gotten some questions about why do you name your hives and why do you name them the way you do. So I thought maybe I will talk about that a little bit. So I made a separate video about, there's Simon, the wild boy. I made a separate video about Nardina and the 4 swarms that she cast over the last couple of weeks. She had 4 swarms. So, naming hives. The main reason we like to name hives is because it's helpful in remembering that a honeybee hive is one organism. So just like how we have trillions of cells in our body that are essentially little organisms on their own, they together work to make up one being. So just like how my cells in my body cannot survive on their own, it's the same with bees, right? Honeybees are one organism, not one honeybee could survive by herself. So the other thing that you may have noticed is that when I name a hive, whatever the name of that hive is, as she is reproducing, meaning casting swarms, that's the natural reproduction of honeybees. When she has a daughter hive, we name that hive a name that starts with the same letter as the name of the mother hive. So Nardina had the 4 swarms over the last couple of weeks, and we named them in order: Newbie, Nova, Neroli, and Nimba Noel. So all N names. And the reason we do that is to keep track of lineages. And I wanted to go into that just a little bit and let you know why we would be keeping track. Now, of course, we do record keeping as well. You know, everything about the bees we have a record of. But the main reason I would want to remember lineages, and by the way, this is a practice that I did pick up from the Mother Sanctuary, the Spikenard Honeybee Sanctuary in Floyd. They've been doing that practice for years, this particular way of naming hives. The reason we want to keep track of lineages is because of the sanctuary work in general, which is to strengthen the honeybee as a species. I'm not going to go into huge detail right now, but many of you, I'm sure, have heard about colony collapse disorder, or just the general dying of the bees. And the honeybee is interesting because obviously she is not fully wild, but also not fully domesticated. We have a deep relationship with the honeybee, and she is not only in trouble because of loss of habitat, which is, you know, and collapse of certain ecosystems, such would be the case with a lot of wild animals, right? The honeybee is not as strong as a species as she used to be, partially due to human practices. So the intention of the sanctuary work, which is, you know, all the research work and any practical application of these methods, is to strengthen the honeybee as a species, meaning helping her adapt ecologically to anything from ecosystem changes to weather, climate, but also strengthening her immune system so that she can actually defend herself and be in tune with the pests and diseases that have been such a huge issue over the last couple of decades. So as we are watching the bees recover, or the honeybee recover as a species, it's really helpful to be able to keep track of all the data, and the lineage, hence the naming of our hives, is actually helpful with that. So I hope that answers those questions. But on a side note, it's also just really fun to name the hives and speak to them, communicate with them, and listen to what they have to say. In fact, most of the time when I'm naming a hive, it's not just a name I find beautiful. It usually happens through some deeper listening and inner communication with that hive.